So I'm going to run through some stretches that work the inner thigh muscles now. So you want to lie on a nice firm surface and just lay flat on your back first of all. And what I want you to do is just walk your feet towards your bottom, keeping the feet together, knees pressed together to begin with. Keep the shoulders relaxed and make sure that the back is flat to the floor. If you have a real arch in this position, it may not be a very good posture for you. And all you're going to do is, by keeping the feet together, let the legs drop out to either side and then let the soles of the feet touch if they can. And what I do find is it helps to have a hand on your tummy and your rib cage, and just focus on taking some really nice deep breaths here. So you can really feel that you're breathing right down into the lower abdominals. You want to take quite a long time in this stretch, good 30 seconds, just to really let the weight of your legs so that the knees drop out to the sides. I don't want to see any bouncing here, doesn't do us any good. And try not to sort of push down or put any weights on the insides of your legs. I know sometimes people are tempted to do so, but this is just a starting posture. The rest of the video is going to run through some deeper adductor stretches or groin stretches. Now, after you've done about 30 seconds here, you should start to just get to a maximum stretch. You think your legs can't drop out any further. Possibly they're on the floor, it depends how mobile you are. So I like to run through some activations here, which for some people tends to increase that stretch feeling. So from this position, I want you to try and squeeze your glutes together. So you'll feel a little lift in the hips in this position, maybe a little of tension comes in through the middle of your thighs here, and just hold for a few seconds and then relax. And you're going to run through maybe between 5 to 7 repetitions of that and relax. That might just get you a little bit more of a stretch. If it's too uncomfortable, then don't worry. And then to come out of this position, because you've just done a deep stretch, just allow your hands to come to the outsides of the legs and just gently assist with lifting the legs back together, and then just hold in a nice neutral position for a moment. So you're going to want to be seated on a fairly firm surface. You may find it useful to sit on a block or maybe a book if you're struggling to sit in a nice straight posture. First of all, we're just going to practice in a V-sit like this. So how far or how wide you take your legs depends on your ability. Some people may find they need to be quite a short V, but this would probably work the hamstrings quite a bit. So if you can sit wide, you want to. And the other thing is that you need to keep a nice straight posture. A lot of people round into this and they sink backwards, and you really lose that targeted stretch. So in this position, I want you just to sort of lift yourself up and really make sure that you're on your sit bones. So you'll feel 2 knobbly bits, sort of back of the leg in the bottom area, and you really want to focus on being there. So just take a moment to be into this posture, take a nice few deep breaths, a little relax, and then first of all, not paying too much attention to the feet or the legs, just going to relax forward, just to see maybe where you start to feel the stretch. Again, leading with the chest forward, so you're not just rounding, and you want to keep a nice gap between your chest and your chin. So you focus on a point maybe a few foot in front of you. You can use some support. If this feels like it pulls on your back a little bit, you can maybe lean on something in front of you if that helps. And you want to start paying attention to where you feel this stretch. For a lot of us, we'll still feel it in the hamstrings, so more the back of the leg. We'll feel it in the back, maybe around the front of the hips a little. So what I want you to do next, once you become comfortable in a tilted forward posture, is I want you to try and rotate the legs outwards. So your feet are going to drop out to the sides, away from each other. That should hopefully bring the attention back to the middle of the thigh area here, between the thighs. Not too much around by the knee. You certainly don't want to be pinching in the hips too much. And then try and sink further forward a little more. And if you feel like you lose that position, just let the legs roll out to the sides again. And you're going to lean forwards even more. Now, if you can, come down onto your forearms, keeping a relatively straight back, keeping your eye gaze in front of you. This keeps a nice posture between the neck and the chest, letting the chest lean forward. And allow some of your weight to come into the hands and the forearms. If you need to reposition again with the legs just to encourage them to roll outwards, do. And if you can sink even further forward than that, please do. I can't, however, not that flexible. And you just want to hold this position for 30 to even 60 seconds. It's a nice deep posture here. If at one point you feel like you've gone too far, just bring yourself back up. Take a few nice deep breaths. Again, avoiding any numbness, tingling, no shooting sensations. It's all signs that you're taking the stretches too deep, too quickly, and you end up either aggravating things or possibly injuring yourself. And come back into it if you've come out of the pose. Really just allow your body to get heavy. You can have a little reposition with your weight, trying to lean forwards if you can. When you've done about 30 to 60 seconds, come back out of the position, let your legs roll back to neutral, and just sit up nice and tall. So we're going to do a single leg version of that now. So same before, having the leg out angled away from your body, but this time you're going to bring your foot into the inside of the leg by the knee. Now there's a few different ways of doing this. You want to keep this knee relaxed, nice straight torso. You can just try leaning forward to reach the inner thigh here, play around with it, or you can actually lean straight in front of you, so the way that your torso is facing forward, or you can rotate to point the leg. So for me, the stretch works much better leaning forward. It feels like it targets here much more. And you're going to do the same as before, lean forward. And now what you might find is that you can come a little deeper, but you can also just assist with that pushing out movement. Another way of stretching the adductors is to sit in a nice stool straight posture. Bring the soles of the feet together. You may want to use your hands just to sort of pull yourself forward, really keep that posture nice and tall. And you want to try and bring your feet in as close to your body as you can, allowing the knees to drop out towards the sides. So I'll just face you. So feet together, and you may want to just wrap your hands around the foot, and nice tall posture, and you're just going to bring the feet towards you as close as you can on the floor, letting the knees just drop out to the sides. You want to try and keep quite a tall posture with this. Again, you don't want to round. You may want to lean forward a little, just using the hands to sort of brace your posture. You may want to just start leaning your weight from the right to the left. And once that starts to become more comfortable, sitting up in a tall posture like this is okay. Taking nice deep breaths. You can start to use some muscle activation. So bring the knees towards you first, and then you're going to push the knees out. Now you're not using your hands to do this, you're not using any weights or anything like that. You're just using your muscle control. So it may be a very subtle movement. You may find that you can only do one side at a time. Whichever works for you, play around with it a little. Again, nice and slow and controlled. If you can, work through with the breathing. As you breathe out, you stretch down and breathe in. And you should start to really feel around the sides of the legs, insides of the legs, start to feel much more mobile. Hopefully you're not feeling as restricted, as tight. You may even see some improvements yourself with your movements. The last of the adductor stretches is a little bit more of a mobility exercise, but it can also be done as a deep stretch depending how comfortable you feel the position. So you want to come into a sort of almost kneeling position on your feet first. Your right foot is going to plant on the floor, and then the left leg is going to kick out to the side. Now, for initially to start with, do use your hands to help assist with this movement, maybe even just the fingertips. If you really struggle to just be in this position, maybe the foot hurts, the knee hurts, you don't have the mobility to be upright, this may not be the best stretch or exercise for you. So in this position, you want to try and keep the foot flat on the floor, and you're going to push into the ground that way and lean slightly over towards this right side. And you're going to hold that position for a few seconds. And then to begin with, nice and slowly, you're going to walk the hands and your body weight onto the other side, keeping the foot in contact with the floor there, allowing that leg to become nice and long and straight. Hold for a few seconds, and then you're going to switch over to the other side. Now I'd recommend at least 2 or 3 on each leg before taking it to the next stage, just to really make sure that you're warm into this inner thigh muscle. You don't want to cause any issues or any damage or anything. Now, if this feels like quite an easy exercise for you, you can start to build a bit more mobility, a little bit of strength into it. So try and take the hands away. You can clasp the hands, more of a yoga pose. You can have them out in front of you, wherever works. So you want to start moving into the legs, only really holding the end pose for just a minute, just a moment even. Try and keep the weight fairly central, so you're not getting too much movement from the torso. It challenges the core a little bit more here. And you're just coming from each side, trying to stay nice and low. And maybe doing 10 to 20 repetitions, really working through the mobility. Trying to keep the foot planted on the floor so that the stretch is still felt more on the inside of the thigh and not round the back of the leg and into the back. And then relax.